Now you guys all remember Boris stating he's going to take back control and all that goodness, make Britain great again essentially after Brexit, promoting British jobs and all that good stuff, which sounds great on the campaign trail and during press conferences, with levelling up the country being his favourite. Now obviously that was then and this is now. Some of you might know the UK government picked an EU company for its testing system despite them having inferior results to the UK company the government shunned. This was touched on by Alex Belfield yesterday, reporting on a UK company taking the government to court for awarding this contract to obviously an inferior company, with the government now paying the British company $2 million in compensation for their suspicious awarding of this contract. But the headline for this article is not important, neither is the money really. What I noticed from it is how the government never lost this case. They literally agreed to pay them the money to stop it all being discussed in open court. I wonder why. So let's check out the BBC's article on it. It headlines, government to pay £2 million to settle coronavirus testing case. The UK has agreed to settle a lawsuit over how it selected an IT contract for coronavirus testing at its Lighthouse labs. The BBC understands the settlement will cost the government up to £2 million. British company Diagnostic AI claimed it lost out to European rival Eugen Tech despite spotting some positive coronavirus cases its rival missed, which obviously is really kind of irrelevant considering how piss poor the PCR test is, with its 93% false positive rate? Yeah, we don't even care about that. What really matters is the reason why the government is paying this money, and obviously the fact that they have given this contract to a European company and not a British one, despite the fact they're supposed to be levelling up the country. It continues, they sued the government over the decision, claiming the selection process was unfair and unlawful. Lighthouse Labs are a UK-wide network of specialist coronavirus laboratories managed by the government and run by private firms. When the labs were set up, companies pitched to analyse the test results. It says the dispute was due to be played out in court. It would have meant a public examination of the accuracy and speed of the testing system at a time when it has come under serious criticism. But the government has decided to settle the case and will pay Diagnostic AI compensation and most of its legal fees. However, despite agreeing to the payout, the government has refuted the claims made by Diagnostic AI, saying they are inaccurate. So, if they are inaccurate, why the fuck didn't you just argue it out? At the end of the day, it's not your money to just be willy-nilly given away. But like I said earlier, that doesn't matter. What really matters is why they avoided this being discussed in open court, especially when it's being criticised at the moment. And I think you all know why. Let's be honest, it's no secret at this point that the test is completely piss poor and finds cases where there are none. It continues, the tests are reliable and effective. The laboratories that undertake them have been reviewed and assessed by experts, and the percentage of false negatives or positives is tiny, said a Department of Health and Social Care spokesman. Now I have to say that is some hilarious bullshit considering what we know now and government ministers have even said themselves. As a matter of fact, here that is.
There has been a campaign via, I think, the Daily Telegraph newspaper, where the former Prime Minister, even the former Prime Minister, said that you should improve testing at airports, or indeed put testing in at airports, and we don't. Why not?
The challenge is that the false positive rate is very high, so only 7% of tests will be successful in identifying those that actually have the virus.
And it says here that Diagnostic AI, the UK company, actually tried to sue two other non-profit companies owned and funded by the government because they ran the process which decided which company should be used. It says court papers show that between the 31st of March and 14th of April, Diagnostic AI repeatedly requested information about exactly what services were required and how their bid would be evaluated. Diagnostic AI say it never received the information it asked for. This is refuted by UK Bio Centre, which says both providers were given the same information. And I suppose we will just have to take each of your words on that. It continues, when the two bids were being considered in early April, the UK was facing what Boris Johnson has called a moment of national emergency. Yeah, because he needed that to continue the lockdown. In such urgent circumstances, the law does make provisions for the government to buy services without a competitive process if certain conditions are met. Yeah, I wonder what conditions they are. Do they happen to be that you know someone who owns or runs the company involved in these bids? Because that really wouldn't surprise me. The article finishes up though, the BBC understands that the investigations were carried out into the claims made by Diagnostic AI, but concluded that concerns over over the safety of Eugentek's software were unsubstantiated. However, Mr. Cohen disagrees. The government's paying out a lot of money and they're paying this out, to avoid having to have these issues aired in court and to have discussions over the accuracy of the testing, which is 100% what I think it is, and should really be what the media are saying during this article. They shouldn't be headlining with the government's paying £2 million to settle the case. They should be headlining with the government is paying £2 million, so the testing situation is not aired in open court in the UK, which hopefully eventually it will. Like I've said before, there are cases ongoing that you can support. I will link them down below in the description. But not only does this show dodgy shit, in my opinion, on the part of the government, it also shows the BBC are complicit by essentially covering up by giving this the wrong headline. They literally know most people are not going to sit there and read through the wall of text that is involved in this article to get to the important bits, proving, as we all know, the BBC are just as bad as the government, if not worse.
There is a pattern consistent throughout history of oppressed people turning on the oppressors, slaves against their owners, the peasantry against the feudal barons, colonies, Mr. Verhofstadt, against their empires, and that is why Britain is leaving. And it doesn't matter which language you use, we are going, and we are glad to be going. We're off.